Okay, this is lesson 62, evaluating log expressions. So yesterday you learned about logarithms. Logarithms, remember we talked about inverse functions in math. Everything has an inverse in math, so what's the inverse operation of adding? Okay. You hear the word inverse? Okay, what's the inverse operation of multiplying? Good. What's the inverse operation of squaring? Good. What's the inverse of an exponential equation? Logarithm equation. Okay, what's the inverse of an exponential equation? Logarithm. Okay, good. So, or logarithm function is really more appropriate. So, anyways, so we need to learn how to deal with logs mathematically. So today our goal is to evaluate logarithmic expressions. And the big idea is sometimes we need to find a common, way to compare things, right? So we find maybe a common denominator. Like we use fractions. Like, how do we add and subtract fractions? We need to have a common denominator, right? Because we can't combine them because we don't have a similar context, okay? So, same thing here. It's a similar idea, having a common base. Okay, steps for this are as follows. Set the expression equal to x. 2, rewrite the logarithmic equation as an exponential equation. 3, find a common base of both sides of the equation. 4, once bases are the same, set exponents equal to each other. And then 5, solve for x. Okay? It looks a lot worse than it is. It should go pretty quickly today. Okay, so right now just watch. Eyes up here, pencils down. Okay? So number 1 and 2, it says evaluate each expression. So when I do these, I know that this expression is equal to something. So we're going to take log base 2 of 4. We're going to set it equal to x. So that's the first thing you want to do. And I'm going to rewrite this as an exponential equation. 2 to the x is equal to 4. Now, this is a very simple example. We could do this in our heads. And so let's just predict what the answer should be. 2 to what power is 4? 2, right? Do you all agree? Okay. I picked a really easy one because I want you to think about it in different terms. So the next step that I want to do is find a common base. So a common base would be, this is like 2. I know 2 to the second power is equal to 4. So I'm going to rewrite this, okay? So I'm going to take 4 and rewrite it with a base of 2 because I want to have a common base on both sides. I know I had a 2 here. I know that 4 is the same thing as 2 squared. Do you all agree? Okay, so since I have a common base, now I could just ignore the bases and just make the exponents equal to each other, so if x is equal to 2, and that's your answer. Okay? The big idea on how to do this problem is you have to find a common base, okay, on each problem. Okay? So in this example, 2 is our common base. Okay? Make sense? Okay, so how did I do this? First thing I did is I set the expression equal to x. So log base 2 of 4, I put is equal to x. Step 2, I rewrote the logarithmic equation as an exponential equation. So right here, I went from a log to exponential equation. We learned how to do that yesterday, right? Step 3, find a common base of both sides. I have to think about that a little bit. What's a common base that I said? 2, right? So I rewrote this as 2 to the x. This I didn't have to change, but 4 could be changed to 2 squared. And then step 4, once the bases are the same, set the exponents equal to each other. So x is equal to 2, and then solve for x. It's already solved, so that's our answer. Okay? Make sense? Okay, number 2, pencils down still, pencils down still. Okay? Eyes up here, number 2. Same thing, we got log base 3 of 1/27. Okay, step 1, set the expression equal to x, so you just set it equal to x. Step 2, rewrite the logarithmic equation as an exponential equation, so I'm going to write this as 3 to the x power is equal to 1/27. Okay, then I want to find a common base of both sides. There's a 3 here, and then over here I got 1/27. I know that 27 is the same thing as 3 to the 3rd power. Okay, so I can rewrite this as 1/27 as 1 over 3 to the 3rd. Do y'all agree that it looks like that? Okay, and if I want to have a base of 3 on this side, this isn't the same thing. I know that this 1 over 3 to the 3rd is the same thing as saying 3 to the negative 3rd. Do you agree that this is the same thing as here? Yeah? Okay? So I could even just jump to that step if I wanted to. Alright? Bring down the rest of the problem. 3 to the x is equal to 3 to the negative 3rd. Now I have a common base of both sides. Since they're the same, I could ignore the bases now and make the exponents equal to each other, so x is equal to negative 3. solve, and we're all done. Okay? That's all we're doing today. Any questions on 1 or 2 before we start discussing and writing? Okay, so let's have 1s till the 2s, explain the whole problem, and really both people emphasize the finite common base. So 1s are talking about number 1, 2s are talking about number 2. Let's hear you talk before you write. Ready? Set. Talk. Okay, number 3. Let's do this one together. Okay, so write down number 3. We got log base 2 of 8. Okay, so step 1. Turn to your neighbor. Tell them what step 1 is. Good, so set the expression equal to x. So let's set it equal to x, just like that. Okay, step 2. Tell your neighbor what step 2 is. Okay, so we got 2 to the x is equal to 8, right? We want to rewrite it as an exponential equation. Okay, step 3 says find a common base. I want you, with your neighbor, identify a common base you could use. What's a common base you could use? What's the common base I could use, everyone? 2. Okay, on the left-hand side, 2 to the x. Do I need to change anything on the left side of the equation? No, we don't. What about 8? What does 8 turn into? Good, 2 to the 3rd, okay? Finish up my problem here. We have a common base now. X equals 2, 3, okay? Makes sense? Okay, next one, number 4. No, but it was like just in that way. No, I don't ever clean these. You should wash your hands. It's really gross. Yeah. Okay. Answers up. The answer's up. Oh, you're almost there. Good. Good.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. Check your work again. Paying attention or what? There's no work. Come on, guys. Okay? Answers up here. Okay? 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 No.
Boy.
Can't start your homework until we're all done. Almost through it. Okay, what's the answer? X is equal to? 5. I heard some people say 6 or 7. Is that true? Is that a fact, or
I didn't write it.
are you just being silly?
I didn't look at it.
Is she being mean to you?
That's not my writing.
Oh, that's not her writing?
It's not my writing either.
Oh. Be nice to each
Yeah,
other.
writing. That's not my writing. It's not that.
Okay, answers up. Answers up. Okay, good. Okay. Okay. What's our answer, everyone? X is equal to? Negative 2, right? Okay, keep going. I want you to finish up number 6 now. Number 6, go. So, x is equal to negative 3. I won't show you the whole thing, but that's the answer, right? Because we know that 4 to what power is equal to 1/64. Okay, next one. Number 7. Don't start working on it yet. This one's a little different than all the problems. Don't start working on it. I want you to wonder what's wrong with it, with your neighbor. What do you notice and why is it wrong? Okay, so take 15 seconds to find your answer and think about why that's a problem. I'm going to call on someone. Start working out the problem with me. You got 2 to the x power is equal to negative 1/64. Work with your neighbor. Identify what exponent should go there. That's a good guess, but no. Noah. Oh, you're waving at Veronica? Okay. Yeah. Can we flip the fraction? Well, yeah, we can. We say 1/64 is like saying 2 to the 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. Okay, let's think about this conceptually. What's 2 to the first power? 2 to the second? 2 to the third? 8. If I keep going up on my exponents, will they ever become negative? Will my answer ever be negative? No. Okay, good. Let's try 0. What's 2 to the 0? 1, right? What's anything to the 0 power? 1. Is that negative 1? No, let's try a negative exponent. What's 2 to the negative 1? What's 2 to the negative first power? No. What's 2 to the negative first power? Isn't this a... Okay, what's 2 to the negative first power again, everyone? Okay, what about 2 to the negative second? 1/4. Is it negative 1/4? What about 2 to the negative third? Okay. Will my answers ever be negative? Is there any answer for x that will ever make this negative? No. So since that's the case, well, not no solution, but rather undefined. Okay? Undefined. Can you turn your neighbor? Let's have 1 solid 2's. Why is this one undefined? Okay, so number 8, what's the answer? Undefined. Good. Okay? That's it. Undefined. Make sense? Yes? Okay. Okay. That concludes our lesson. Please turn your neighbor. Discuss these 4 questions.